If the screen all of a sudden bursts into flames, just know I did it for music. Welcome back to Y.E.S, everyone. Today we are talking about Phoenix, the debut studio album released by Charlotte Cardin. Cardin? Not sure. Anyway, interesting story. The first time I listened to this, I was just trying to catch up on listening to some albums while at the gym. Sometimes I will listen to some music when I think that maybe I'm in the right zone, if I'm just doing some cardio and wanting to listen to something along the way. And I thought for a moment that this is unique, I'm interested. And then there was a point where I remember, oh dang. There were some surprises, some not so pleasant, a couple that were interesting. I still had some intrigue listening to this album, and when I finally returned to listen to it again to make sure that I was going to review it correctly, most of my feelings were confirmed the same way. There are some who probably could describe this as an album where a woman is probably trying to discover oneself or is expressing some frustrations or trials that she's gone through. Yeah, I get that, but it's expressed in an incredibly crude and often random kind of way, combining those two things. Now, I don't want there to be oversight when it comes to the attempted quality pushed into this album. There's something there that has my intrigue. It's just overtaken by some of the poor choices that were used in finalizing this album. This is another one of those albums where I feel like for a female artist, she is trying to be taken seriously by the fact that she's trying to address serious topics. And I wouldn't necessarily say that all of these topics that maybe she and I don't see eye to eye with are necessarily taken to the max in a disagreeable kind of way, but they are taken to a degree of where I don't know if it is an appropriate way to express frustration or it is too presumptuous in a way that other people are going to defend her because she's clearly not in the wrong because of what maybe some other person did to her. And yet, you can't help but think that but I don't really want to be on either of your side. An example of this would be Anyone Who Loves Me is just really a girl kind of almost in a way crying out for a desperate desire for someone simply to love her back. The problem is it's bombarded with F-bombs. Track number 6 is titled Sex to Me. Basically talks about how all her relations are basically just carnal. Yeah. How inspiring. Yeah. The 8th track is titled Sad Girl, and this kind of talks about the clingy side, and it kind of feels like in a way that it could be potentially self-aware, but I really can't tell necessarily. It seems like she really wants the guy to give her as much attention as possible. And I don't mean like in a high school, cutesy girl kind of way. I really mean like a girl who is in the most real sense desperate for her man or her hopeful man to be by her side whenever possible. It almost is kind of creepy and spooky in a way. Where it gets a little bit lighter, where I'm just indifferent at the point, a song like Oceans talks a little bit more about money. So there's a lot of songs you can do about that where it doesn't need to be offensive, but it doesn't necessarily have substance to it. And then if we're just talking about musical qualities necessarily, the title track, Phoenix, at the beginning actually is kind of interesting, but there's something in there where I can't tell if it's on purpose, where it kind of has a small out-of-body jolt auto-tune moment in some part of the chorus each time. And I don't necessarily hate that. I just find myself asking the question, what was that for? Because it really doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the song or have much of a reference to something else necessarily. Or the song Passive Aggressive, which I could probably listen to again, but it does have some background vocals that I find distracting and in some pretty major need of tweaking. I will say probably the most sincere track is Sun Goes Down, Buddy. Background story of this song basically talks about how Charlotte is helping a friend endure anxiety, addiction, and other trials. And it does feel sincere. I can see this connecting with a lot of people who know of a loved one who might be just having all the wrong things happen in their lives. And this song could probably lift them up. Now, I don't know how often I would re-listen to this, but I do recognize the sincere effort that was put into it and the legitimate music quality that it has. After that, mixed bag. More lows than highs, but it wasn't totally lost on me that effort was attempted to be placed in here, but so much of the other alternative ideas per se that were trying to get an idea or message across or a value that I think we all could have gotten on board with didn't exactly nail the landing, because that's just not how things are supposed to be dealt with. I know that music can take some liberties in visioning something a little different, but in a way it feels a little extreme, even on the most mellow side of things. I don't think it necessarily flows well with how the music should be perceived. So, after having listened and reviewed this album with the following grades in the following categories here, how would I recommend this album? I am going to give it an okay. Yes, there are a lot of frustrations that I have with this album. Some things I know I can look somewhat past, but I don't think that it overturns or overrules how I would personally feel talking about this album to another person face to face. It does make me curious and want to explore a little bit more of Charlotte's origins before this album was released. Who knows, something else could pop up. I just sincerely want to learn more, but for the time being, the project that is presented to us here is not something that I strongly feel is in the realm of recommendable music. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you want more Yes in your life, be sure to subscribe to this channel where you can discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment that'll make you say yes. A phoenix has a rebirth. Oh, was she an artist by another name previously before this? Probably not, but that's kind of an interesting idea to think about. People probably rebuild and reshape themselves ever so slightly before trying to release something major to the public. But, I don't know. This is just commentary for the ending, so if you've left, okay. If you're sticking around, check out more videos.